Within the massive scale of the story, at some point, we go back to a more humble locale. On Earth, a low-class Saiyan wearing orange is continuing his training, aiming to grow stronger than ever before. A strange portal opens in the sky, and he looks up at it. Great. This again? He's seen this before. A couple of times, actually. A couple of Saiyans appear. They all know who he is, and he could tell who most of them are. Including two Bardoks, with the main Bardock in front of the group, simply asking Goku if they can get his help. Goku? He doesn't know who that is. His name's Kakarot. Bardock chuckles a bit, just like his son. Well, he is still his son after all, just from a different continuity. The other Kakarot gets some enjoyment out of this too. Finally, another person like him who also isn't called Goku. Someone going by his actual name, Kakarot. Today we begin episode 6 of Cell Prime. This is a continuity that Cronoa didn't really want to go to. She never really liked this one because it always caused a lot of issues. It is very strong, but also very rowdy at the same time. This is a continuity where Kakarot was sent to Earth. Although he was found and raised by the Crane School, he never hit his head and grew up as Kakarot, eventually leaving Earth, going out into space for most of his life. He faced the Frieza Force, the Crusher Core, a version of Turles that ate fruits from anything in sight, even consuming fruits from a tree of might grown on stars. And along the way he gained some familiar allies, Raditz, Granola, and Broly. But eventually he did return to Earth, meeting up with his former allies there, now on a new path of training. While he may look like a Goku, he's definitely not Goku. He's Kakarot still. The reason Cronoa didn't really want to recruit this guy is because he's destroyed reality multiple times before, all for the sake of some stupid grudge with another Saiyan. And it wasn't just him. Raditz, Granola, and even Turles did that too. And the Beerus and Whis of this continuity did nothing to stop it. But there's one thing they can't deny. This Kakarot, he's incredibly powerful. Unfortunately for them, the Raditz and Granola of this continuity aren't here, but it should be fine. Especially because it's going to be confusing having 3 Kakarots as is. They don't want to have the same predicament with Raditz and Granola. And on top of that, Kakarot's the most valuable person from this reality as well. And it sounds like fun to him. He ends up joining the Continuity Patrol. He already recognizes Raditz and Granola there, even if they're not his Raditz and Granola. Actually, these two just met not too long ago. They're not even from the same continuity. Kakarot also finds it interesting that there's another version of him, as well as his father, mother, and apparently his sister. Weird, he didn't know he had one of those. He assumes that the others are just as strong as the people he knows. Once he arrives at the Time Nest, he asks Kakarot to show off his forms, as well as Raditz and Granola. Raditz goes Super Saiyan Blue, and Granola just powers up into his double red-eyed form, with the armored Kakarot also going Super Saiyan Blue. Wait, that's the peak of their power? Well, he guesses it makes sense. He had a much different upbringing, especially with the Tree of Might's power flowing through him. He was bound to have different forms anyways. But still, these guys are much weaker than him, and he at least expected Granola to have Super Cerulean. Wait, Super Cerulean? That's a thing? That's news to him, and apparently it exists in other continuities too, because that's how that Granola found out about it in the first place. They have a test of strength. The Kakarot in orange ends up winning this battle, showing off his full power. And he does tell them that he's aiming to go beyond this. That's the whole reason he returned to Earth, and the whole reason he was training under Beerus and Whis in the first place, although not at the moment. He knows of Ultra Instinct, and that's really his next goal, so he needed to go back to basics on Earth. And he somewhat has the principles of it down, and even uses it in his main forms, including using the principles of it in his Supreme God form. And surprisingly, the reason he wants a new form is pretty simple. Yeah, he wants to grow stronger, but mainly, he doesn't like how the color of his hair clashes with his gi. This guy's pretty easy to please, huh? And while they're on the topic of introductions, they need to figure out a way to make this a lot less confusing. At least with Zamasu, he's fused with someone else, so it's easy to differentiate him. But now they have 2 people that are named Kakarot, and there's not really a way to differentiate them besides their outfits. So, they're gonna call him Kakarot too, since he came here second. He's a bit bummed out to be relegated to player 2 essentially, especially because he's the strongest here. Well, besides Piccolo that is, who he eventually meets as well. Ruda wonders if they should try recruiting others too. There's gotta be some other strong continuities out here that they can get people from. But Cronoa is very selective, which is why they took so long to select Kakarot in the first place. Or rather, Kakarot 2. She only recruits people who have displayed an ability to control realities or break them at will. And more importantly, she needs to be fond of how they do it. Unlike Kakarot, who did it very recklessly, to put it lightly. Piccolo especially was great at this, although he overrode his own power to defeat his own foe, so his power is still there but dormant, and he has no clue how to unlock it again. As for Kakarot 2 though, he has full access to his power. Of course, everyone here can control realities at will, but Kakarot, he especially is good at it, he just needs to be a bit more careful with it. And he says he remembers how to do it. He basically had to do it by force, basically combining 2 equal powers and causing that to break the barriers between reality, essentially the way Cell Prime did it when he first started going around. He remembers the Raditz and Granola from his reality struggle to do that, and Turles was able to do it, but he's dead, and also, he's a bad guy. They can't recruit him. The second part's more important than the first because this is a world where they can revive people. But he actually gets an idea. If they want to recruit another person, he does have someone in mind that he really wants to see again, but he's not someone from his reality. And he starts explaining to everyone. Meanwhile, let's go over to what Cell Prime is up to. In order to cover his trail, he's been hopping through countless realities. And now, he arrives in one where he could actually rest for a bit. He feels like he's been constantly fighting, so he doesn't really want to do that here. As much as he loves fighting, he does need a little bit of a break. Not just to recuperate, but also to get a better control on his skills, and he spends some time here. But as the days and even weeks go by, he comes to realize that this reality is kind of different. He was on a secluded planet for a while, and he tried to sense any presence he could out there, but he couldn't really find anything. Well, seemingly not at first, and it felt like he was being watched the entire time, by someone in this continuity, not outside of it. And eventually, that thing that was watching him, it does end up attacking. Red bolts of energy shoot from the sky, landing on the planet he's on, completely decimating it. It's not like there was anything on that planet anyways, but he wondered who attacked him. Who came all the way out here and destroyed a planet without any regard for it? He's in a random, desolate, secluded galaxy, and it seems like he's in Universe 4 here. No one here should know who he is or have a reason to attack him at all, but someone clearly has it out for him. And then, Cell realizes what he's dealing with. He couldn't see it before. It was kind of hidden in the background. But now that he's been attacked, the enemy's revealed himself. Or rather, itself. Because it doesn't seem like a person. It seems like the universe itself. No, the entire continuity itself. It's attacking him. And then it hits him. He realizes what's happening here. Whatever villain he's facing, he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's immortal. And there's only one person that comes to mind. Especially because in his main continuity, Cell Prime actually got some data on this phenomenon, because this almost happened there. And he gets his answer as a man manifests himself in front of him, taking on the appearance of Zamasu. Zamasu doesn't know who Cell is, but Cell knows who Zamasu is. It appears he's in a reality where Zamasu ended up winning, or rather, his mortal body was destroyed. He then merged with the universe, becoming one with it. But here, he was never erased by Zeno. He ended up taking over every universe, every timeline, the entire continuity as is. Interesting. How is this continuity still around though? Why didn't Zeno attempt to destroy any of the universes or anything? Especially because there shouldn't just be one Zeno here. There's gotta be multiple from all the different timelines. As he questions Zamasu, Zamasu has a pretty simple answer. He promised to make a new reality for Zeno. Thankfully, Zeno saw his vision. Although, by the time he bargained with Zeno, everything was pretty much already taken over by Zamasu. Goku never used the Zeno button to call Zeno here, so Zeno only found out after the fact. And not just the one from Zamasu's timeline, but from all the timelines. All the other Zenos had the same revelation, including the revelation that there's other Zenos. And it seems everything's gone. Now the Zenos nearly did destroy everything. But Zamasu appealed to them. If they did that, they'd get bored. They'd have nothing to rule over. What would be the point then if they erased everything? And plus, Zamasu made a promise to them. He's actually going to create a new reality, a better one where the mortals are actually loyal to the gods, following their will. And not just that, it's going to be a reality with better gods. He even coalesced all the timelines, so now there's only one. There's multiple Zenos in this timeline. There's no gods of destruction, but the angels were left behind, so they're still here, as well as Zeno's guards. But besides those few people, it's just Zamasu, and he basically controls everything, amassing more power as the days go on. He is one with reality after all. Everything exists within him. And why does he look like this? Shouldn't he still be merged? Well, when he merged with the universe, his body was destroyed. And this physical body that Cell's seeing, it's not really Zamasu. It's just a form Zamasu took on so he could easily study Cell and converse with him, because he knows that Cell's not from here, and he's curious as to who Cell is, especially because he tried to kill Cell right away and he was able to survive the attack pretty much with ease. And by studying Cell more closely, he even looks into his mind, reading all of his memories and figuring out exactly who he is. Cell also did the same thing with Zamasu, and now they have a mutual understanding. Zamasu certainly can't keep him around because, after figuring out who Cell is, he sees a few interesting things. He sees the stuff that exists outside of this continuity, the stuff that Cell saw. But more importantly, he sees that Cell is actually the embodiment of everything that Zamasu hates, mostly mortal disobedience. Especially with the fact that he's unnatural. He was made in a lab. He's not even a natural mortal. Cell says he'd love to stay and chat, but this seems kind of boring. So, he simply teleports outside the continuity, studying it externally. But Zamasu is able to follow him, surprising Cell. So he does have some awareness outside of his own continuity too. Zamasu can move out of his own existence. Well, of course he has that. After assimilating with all his timelines, the other Super Dragon Balls came into his possession. Also, whatever other Zamasus existed, they coalesced within him. This Zamasu is just not omnipresent. He's omniscient too. At least in regards to the stuff existing within his continuity. He did know about stuff existing outside of it, but wasn't really aware of the continuity patrol and such. That's new to him. But like Cell said, he's done here because this is kind of boring. He tries to attack Zamasu and finish this, but Zamasu vanishes easily. A brief battle begins between the two, but they see that they can't really do anything to each other. Zamasu doesn't have enough power to kill Cell. Even with his immense strength, it's still not enough to defeat Cell Prime. And also, Cell Prime can't really kill someone who's immortal like that. He could try and use the erasure technique, but that's too boring. He's been working on trying to use that for himself, but he doesn't really know if he wants to use that here. Well, there's one thing he could do. While this experience was kind of a waste of time for him, it did show him the extent of his power. It showed him what kind of level he was existing on. The level of power, the knowledge, the plane of existence he lives on. He shares that with Zamasu, and it gets him to see how truly above everything he is now. Kind of an ego trip for Cell. But as he tries leaving, Zamasu doesn't let him leave, doing everything in his power to try and stop Cell. So out of annoyance, Cell uses the only thing that he didn't really want to use. A sealing technique. He might not be able to kill Zamasu, but he could seal him. Even if that means he has to seal the entire reality and everything within it, including the Zenos and Zamasu. Condensing it all into a single point, holding it within his hand. As he looks down at this reality in the palm of his hands, he realizes how small everything is in comparison to him. This is the extent of his power. Literally, in the palm of his hand, he holds an entire group of histories within there. Infinitely expansive, multidimensional realities. And he did that with such ease. But what is he supposed to do with this? Just discard it? Forget it? He wonders what would happen if he ate it. You know, maybe use it as a battery of sorts. Infinite power and energy drawn from this could be pretty interesting. Definitely beyond what an infinite energy machine could be capable of. A continuity's worth of power. It's enticing, but could he even handle that? He keeps it on the back burner for now. Let's go back to the patrol. Kakarot 1, Kakarot 2, and Ruda end up in another reality. Right now, Kakarot 1 and Ruda are actually watching Kakarot 2 fight another version of Goku, and this time it actually is Goku, using Ultra Instinct. He actually had heard about Kakarot before, not just the name, but this actual Kakarot that he's fighting. But Kakarot 2 is here for something, and Goku said he'd only give that up if he beat him in a battle. Despite having access to Ultra Instinct, this version of Goku actually ends up losing to Kakarot 2, which amazes Goku, but he was going to help these people out anyways. It seems pretty interesting. Kakarot 1 and Ruda are pretty dumbfounded too, so that's another version of Kakarot, and that's the Goku guy everyone keeps talking about. Look how strong he is. They're surprised that he's not the person they're recruiting, but apparently, in this continuity, there's a stronger person they're after, and the whole reason Kakarot 2 came here in the first place. And the person they're after is someone who Ruda and Kakarot 1 are very familiar with. A former villain of theirs. They're pretty surprised too because they thought that he'd be completely irredeemable, but apparently in this continuity, he's good. He actually fought alongside Kakarot 2 once, in order to stop Turles. Kakarot 2 says this guy should definitely have enough power to break realities as well. Plus, the right mindset to join the patrol. Goku leads them right to this new recruit. And much like Kakarot 2, he joins without much convincing. The person they're recruiting? It's Cooler. Acting much different than the Cooler that Ruda and Kakarot 1 knew. Are they really sure about this? Kakarot 2 says they could trust him. This Cooler's a good guy. Honestly, he was surprised too because even in his reality he fought a Cooler that was bad. But this guy's way stronger than the Cooler he fought. And most importantly, he's not evil. Cooler's pretty glad to see Kakarot again. Although it's confusing to see 3 Gokus in front of him. But he does remember this Kakarot. How could he forget something like that? It was pretty insane. He'd love to join the Continuity Patrol. Now with 2 new recruits, this is going to be really beneficial for the patrol. Especially because these new recruits are going to train them. Granola, Kakarot, Ruda, and Raditz especially need new powers. Raditz, Ruda, and Kakarot 1 want to go beyond Super Saiyan Blue. And Granola's curious about the Super Cerulean thing. Kakarot 2 and Cooler are going to help train them. They might not be the best teachers, but they'll be good training partners. And all the while, Cell wonders what he's supposed to do with the continuity that he sealed. He didn't even think that he could do this. This was the first time he even tried. Normally he wouldn't even want to do this, but he was in a corner and he had to destroy this continuity due to it being Zamasu, who was immortal and omnipresent. That was really no fun for him. But maybe it could result in something fun, if he thinks outside the box at least. And with that, we end off here for now. What'd you guys think about this part? How are the new recruits going to affect everything going forward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help with the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.